Hello Sweden, I was trying to do this in Swedish, but I can't, I'm very sorry. But my name is Don Diablo and you're watching Vigorousbeats. I mean, I usually back up everything I do in the studio, but in this case, I went on an American tour, and right before I left, my backup crashed. So I was like, it's fine, it's a backup. Then I came back from the tour, and I started up my computer, and then the system drive crashed as well. So I sent it to a lab, and they were able to retrieve nothing. So I lost quite a lot, but also I have some stuff up in the air and you know, just in clouds, and I have a lot of ideas on separate USB sticks, and so I like to carry my project with me everywhere. So I have a lot of it is saved. Some of it is lost, but I figured it would be like a fresh start. Sometimes you just have to get like a smack in the face and start over again. So I see like every defeat is like a challenge. And it's like an opportunity to create something new and to be extra creative. So that's what I tried to do. I just tried to see it as a challenge, and I made a lot of new things. I was very inspired from it. It sounds very bad, but I've been very creative after that crash. There will be an album. I already had like 6 tracks done and mastered and mixed, so they're finished. Obviously, I was working on some new records, but I want to make like maybe 5 or 6 extra like really big singles that could potentially be like the radio singles. The ones that come easiest are the records that are like a little bit more creative, that have no boundaries, or like with the weirder records, because they're really like fun to make. So I've already done those. I've done the fun records. Now I've got to make those records that could be like potential club bangers or like radio anthems. So I'm trying to work that out now. But there will definitely be, before the end of the year, there will be an album, I promise. No, it was a couple of years ago. These guys came to my house and they said, we have a good cause. It's called Dance for Life. And the idea is to unite people around the world through dancing, which I thought was a genius idea, because like dance is the only universal language. It kind of brings everyone together all around the world. Like we might not speak the same language out of our mouths, but our bodies speak exactly the same language. So I said to them, it would be awesome if I could really be involved. So I went to Africa and I shot a documentary there for MTV, and it was one of the most intense things I've ever done. There was particularly, I remember an interview I did with this lady. I sat at her bed and she held my hand, and we spoke about her children, about life, about how short life is. And it really it got me in a really emotional way. And then I left and I came back the next day, and they told me that the lady had passed away that night. So the last conversation she had was with me, and I was like, that made a really big impact on my life. And it's kind of showed me like, wow, what we're doing is great, we're having fun, but you have to think about like what other people are going through, and if we can help a little bit to make the planet just a little bit better, then you know I'm trying to do my part in that, basically. Well, Starlight was a bit of a funny thing, because I've already worked with Nooni, who sings the vocal. I had worked on her with a track that I did called M1 Stinger. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's one of my personal babies. It's not an EDM track, but it's an album track, and we really had a good connection. And Nooni and her team are great people, so we thought maybe we should do another track. So at one point there was the Starlight vocal, and I was kind of messing about with it in London, where I live now. And there was this guy, Matt Nash, and he approached me. He wanted to do a remix for one of my tracks called The Golden Years. And he did this, and I thought it sounded quite cool. So I said, let's have a drink. And we were just going through stuff, and then it was like, oh, I've got this vocal. Maybe this could be a good idea to work on. So we came up with a rough sketch around it that night, and then what happened is that I kind of took the sketch and he took the sketch, and we both worked on it in our studio separately, and we sent stuff back and forth over the internet. And at one point we just finished the track and it was there, and we were like really happy about it. We sent it to several labels. I won't mention any names, but most of them actually said no. So it was kind of a bummer, because like we were really happy with the record. And then we sent it to Axwell, and he was like, reacted straight away, like, yeah, I love the record, I'm signing it. And what happened after that was like, the record just really took off after the Swedish House Mafia played it during one of their last concerts. And then Seb and Steve and Axe, they were very supportive of the record, and it kept growing and growing. And yeah, that's how the record sort of was adopted by other artists, and you know, Avicii started playing it, and Chesto, and it was a really it was a slow grower. Like, if you listen to it now, people are like, oh yeah, I like this record. I think it's a big record. But when I sent it out first, nobody wanted to sign it. So I'm still like I'm really grateful for Axwell that he heard, you know, that this was a good record and he wanted to sign it. I was approached by Warner Brothers, and they said to me, we're releasing a new game, and it's the new Batman Arkham, and it's going to be called Origins. So I was like, great. And they were like, would you like to make a theme song for it? Of course, it's amazing. And they sent me the footage of the game, and it was like, I'm a massive Batman fan, so I was blown away by the footage, and I just started vibing on it. I came up with the record, and yeah, it was all very natural. Like, and I put it out there, and I never expected it to like have millions of views in just a couple of weeks. It was very spontaneous. So I was really happy with it, because sometimes you have to work really hard to make a record work. It takes like months, and this record I almost did it in a night. It was like just there, and everything came together so nicely. And sometimes that's all you need. You need like one thing that inspires you, whether it's like a movie or another song or a remix, or in this case Batman. So I think that, yeah, I'm really happy with the way it kind of portrays the feeling of the Dark Knight and Batman. I actually started off directing little short films, because I wanted to be a film director. So at one point I couldn't find the right music for one of my scenes that I was doing, and I was 14 around then, so I couldn't really call it a scene. It was more like me and friends just fucking around. But I said to them, oh, maybe it's cool if I make some music for it. And we were all laughing, oh, we're making the music. So I made a song. I don't know how I did it. Very primitively. And one of my friends sent it to a record label, and they signed it. And then within the next couple of months, I became a DJ and a producer, and now I'm here. So it's really weird. I never really chose to do this. I like all aspects of being an artist. Like, I like making the music. I also like writing the lyrics. I like creating the artwork and the sleeves for the records, or even like making the videos, so coming up with concept for that. I like to be involved with the whole process. For me, being an artist is that. It's about the whole process, and not just like a lot of guys. They just order a record. It's like they have a ghost producer, and they go through a couple of records and they order one, and this sounds great, and then they go on tour again. But for me, yeah, it's very important. It's a personal record. Even if you work together with someone, it has to have a part of you in there. I think that's important when you make music. That's yeah. My dream collaboration would probably be, I mean, I love interesting voices, you know. I like that's why I loved working with Noonie, and that's why I like working with Dragonette, or even with Alex Clare, because they have very distinct voices. So I like great top lines, like great vocals, but I like it when it's sung by a special voice, and that means a lot more to me. So I'm looking for those voices that are that stand out, that have that little extra magic around it. So it could be even like older people like David Bowie or like Tom Waits or even like Björk, or perhaps I'm thinking it's good. Actually, John Mayer has a great voice. I would actually love to do something with Kanye West because he's fucking crazy, and I like crazy people. I think there are too many like normal people already, so anyone that's crazy, yeah, I'd love to work with them, like just to learn from those people. I think that would be interesting. So producer-wise, I guess would be amazing to work with Rick Rubin. You know, like did like Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Beastie Boys, and he did like a lot of stuff with Jay-Z. I think that would be amazing. Daft Punk, obviously. I mean, the list goes on. Like anyone who is essentially talented, I would love to work with. I don't really look at what is cool or what is not cool. I think whatever who has talent, and you can learn from each other. So I think that's the whole problem with music anyway. Like it's divided between cool and uncool. And I think it's just good or bad music. So I'd even like to work with Katy Perry. Like I'm not a big fan, but I'd still love to work with her because I think, you know, it's important to learn from other people and see different aspects of making music. It will probably get even bigger, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just hoping it's a good thing, I guess. Like a couple of years ago, it was something like was only like for the underground and cool and innovative people, and now it's become more mainstream. So that means there's an anti-movement, and there are a lot of new fans. So it's almost like a war zone. There are people just saying like, oh wow, this record, all records are sounding the same at the moment, but at the same time people want to hear the same records. And it's mostly the labels who want to hear the same records. If you come with something that's super original and super fresh, it's almost really hard to get it released because everybody's afraid. So what I'm hoping for, like dance music, is kind of loses its fear, and so we can like become more creative. That's my hope. I don't know if it's gonna go into that direction, but there will always be like very like super creative people popping up left and right, but they're just not playing on the big stages. So I hope that will flip around, and you hear like people like either like Disclosure or Flume or whatever artists like that just playing prime time on the main stage of a big festival. Because right now you hear like, you go to any of the festivals, like you hear like 8 DJs in a row essentially just playing the same records, and I think that will, and that might just kill the whole vibe, and that will be a shame because I feel like we're just getting started. So the industry kind of says, it tells you to be different because then you stand out, but in the same way record labels are telling you it has to sound in a certain way. So when you're making records, it's very confusing. I mean, it's even still confusing for me, because the one thing you're doing is, on one hand, is you're making music for yourself because you enjoy the process, and the other thing is you're making music for people on the dance floor and essentially DJs. So it has to fit in people's sets. So what I would say is at least make sure you get all the standard stuff. You get all of that in check, basically meaning like you have a standard build-up, you know, like a 1 minute or a 24 bar mix-in part with builds and risers and upcoming snares and all that stuff. And you make sure the sound production, the quality is up to level, and structure it like most of the other records are structured, so people understand it. But then within that realm of understanding, you can actually experiment, as long as you keep the shape understandable for people, if that makes any sense. For example, like Starlight is a good example, like because that record's like structured in 3 different fragments. So you have the vocal, and then you have the build, and then you have the drop. But if you take them separately, they're all quite regular or normal, maybe even. But when you kind of put them together, it becomes interesting. So when people send me like a demo, I'm always looking for either like a very unique melody or a very unique vocal. I mean, just a great production isn't enough. I mean, a lot of guys are focusing on making sure you have the right side chain and like the right end compression and the right bass drum. But I think it's more important that you have the right idea, that a song has the right heart. So you just have to think about what would excite me when I go into a club or I listen to the radio. What would like hit me in the face, and just say like, wow, this is new, this is exciting, I haven't heard this before. Before you send it out to a label or to another DJ, and this is something I can't say enough, because sometimes I get these demos and I think, have you actually listened to it yourself? Like, what would you do if you were a DJ and you got this sent to you? Would you be super excited, or would you just think like, hey, this kind of sounds like everything else out there? So my best advice would sort of to be, make the song and then descend and look at yourself like in a helicopter view. Like, what would I feel if I were a record label owner or another DJ and I would get this record in my inbox? Would I think it's a super special record? And if the answer is no, then just keep working. It's a very long answer, but there is no short answer to this, because I know there are kids out there like really working like 7 days a week until 5 in the morning, like in between school, just trying to make it, trying to break it into the music industry. And it can be very frustrating, but the answer is just keep doing it and try to be that unique artist.